Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining. So we have Serhii today with us. It's a pleasure to have you, Serhii. And I'm
Thanks for
personally
having me.
curious. Yes, a real big pleasure. And I'm personally curious to hear from you today, and also to hear about your like real life situations, your experience on complex setup. So before we go into the nitty gritty details. So Serhii is a staff platform engineer at Superhuman. I think you joined as part of the acquisition, right, of Grammarly about a
Well,
year
technically,
ago.
I started in Grammarly, so I've
In
been here for
Grammarly.
5 years already. Yeah. So, but we rebranded last October. Yeah, and now
Okay,
we are calling ourselves Superhuman.
Superhuman, perfect. You have 14 years of experience, if I remember correctly,
Yeah,
and
I started in 2011. Yep, in the industry.
amazing. And you are also at the intersection of developer experience. You also have like a software engineer background and security and automation and ops, like DevSecOps with the true definition of the DevSecOps, right?
Well, yeah, about right. I actually joined Grammarly. When I joined the platform team, so like DevOps or something. Then I joined developer experience team. Then I joined security automation team, and then I joined platform infrastructure team. Because of two reorganizations, no, so it didn't happen like by my choice, which was actually a great experience to see, because it gave me a lot of new perspectives and points of view on all these different worlds and different teams.
Amazing, amazing, yeah. And I remember like our conversation, I think a few years ago when you were still named Grammarly before the brand, and we're talking about like the complexity of your infrastructure and the scale at which you operate, and that was impressive. I think we're going to talk a little bit about this today. So maybe I let you complete anything about you on the intro, things that I didn't mention, maybe your blog post. Try to pronounce it correctly. Is it Dev This Dos?
Dosvid. Dev Dosvid. Yeah. So, okay, sure. So, since you mentioned it, so my blog is devdosvid.info, and you see, the thing is that that's name goes from sorry, devdosvid.blog. It goes from like the Ukrainian word dosvid, that means experience. So
Experience. Okay.
it was like a funky way to name the blog. So it's like developer experience, basically. Anyway, the thing is that yeah, I guess I have quite a lot of stuff going on like in the last 5 years at Grammarly / Superhuman now. Again, as I mentioned, like I switched three teams technically, and it was like never because of my choice. But again, I kind of happy about it, because when I like these reorganizations I survived gave me a lot of new perspectives on different teams and different projects they work on, and I was able to become the customer of, like, for example, I joined this platform organization first, and when I went to security, I became a customer of platform, and that gave me totally different look on the things, because it's basically helped me to look outside of this, right, and feel in real life how our products, internal products, are like received and how they work and so on. And it also gave me a chance to see what security does, not just from the like third party like point of view, like just from outside, but from inside, and help me realize how a lot of mutual intentions and goals we have like together, like platform and security, and at the same time how different we are in the way of approaching this or looking at this. It's some sort of like orthogonal way of thinking or looking on the same things. And I guess this is where many tensions or misunderstanding or friction happens between the teams. And I hope I will be able to shed a light on some of these things today, by telling some anecdotes and stories from the real projects we had, and to help other platform or security fellows in the industry to overcome this tension between the teams.
Yeah, that's a very important point. Really, the intersection between the three words, and you experienced it. You mentioned the customer. I think it's the right word, because when you are in one team and working with another team, usually you are a customer of that team. You are expecting things from this team, and you are serviced. It's in the same way a customer is serviced as well. So maybe before we go into the details deeply, if you can give us like an overview of your like the teams, how big is the team, how big is the setup, how big is the complexity that you operate in?
Of course, yeah. Currently we serve about 600 developers now, I guess, because recently we acquired another company. Now we have like 4 product divisions: Grammarly, Superhuman, Coda, and Rose. And altogether, our engineering organization is closer to 600 people. We serve all our backend services on about 10,000 nodes as of today. I might be wrong on precise number, but it's closer to this number. It's surprise for many people who were familiar with Grammarly before. I often hear like, "Hey, you doing some like text correction, and you like have so many backend services for that." Well, we don't do just the text correction, and yes, we have a lot of in-house models to make a very good text corrections and suggestions and many other features, and that requires a lot of stuff, and not just this text part, of course.
When you say
Yeah, go ahead.
when you say 10,000 nodes, these are Kubernetes nodes, right? Not VMs
Yes.
or
Yes. Well, I
okay.
mean, that's like EC2 instances in Amazon, because our main hosting provider, cloud provider, is AWS. But it's not just Kubernetes. We actually, well, I mean, now it's majority of Kubernetes. Before that, it was ECS, and it was distributed across about maybe 200 of AWS accounts. Since 2024, we started this major project called Chafik, I lost you, I guess, but I will continue anyway. I hope you will join. For anyone who listens now,
I'm here just to put you on the Zoom.
Yeah, no worries. So the why I was talking is that 2 years ago we started this massive project called Replatform that was about to change the way we treat our infrastructure and how it's architected. So now it's mostly Kubernetes. Yeah, that's long story short anyway. And as I was saying, like 600 engineers, about maybe 5 to 7,000 CI runs daily. We use self-hosted GitLab with a lot of bells and whistles around it. So yeah, it's pretty massive, and it's pretty challenging.
Yeah, that's this is actually when it's complex, like the problems. It's like the perfect setup to have unpredictable problems and unpredictable issues, wherever, regardless of your efforts to make it work smooth or also to make it secure. And also, so one of the use cases that you mentioned, so that we are planning to talk about today is like this specific part where you have AI patching the clusters that goes wrong unnoticed. And I think there are 2 parts in this situation. I mean, yeah, 2 parts. The first one is technical, like AI doing a patch and autonomously on the cluster. And the second one, which is like maybe communication or organizational problem, because we have 2, 3 different teams not communicating effectively, or maybe like there is a blind spot in the way they are supposed to operate. So if you can tell us like now deeper about what happened and what was the root cause and how you dealt with it.
Of course, yeah. So let me start from a bit of like context around this. So picture this. It was a late December last year, and we were about to go offline for a long break. We called it Christmas break. I know many companies do this, ours as well. And like about 2 days before this Christmas break, I noticed that something goes wrong. And despite that, like many teams would have like day offs, still a lot of engineers were allowed to work if they want, and we still have like 2 days before this. So just imagine like how many like people try to some make ends meet, like just to finish something before the end of the year, some tasks and projects and so on. And I noticed that QA cluster is, I opened Argo CD because I was working with QA cluster as well that day. And I noticed that a few of projects there are like marked as red in Argo. So I checked it up and I see that, there is something wrong with external secrets. We use external secrets operators there to get the secrets from AWS Secrets Manager and parameter store. And I was like, well, it's QA, just a few projects, shit happens, right? I mean, nothing wrong probably. Then I see a message from just a different channel, like from a developer saying, "Hey guys," he was asking his own team, like, "Hey guys, do you know like what's happening with QA, with our services on QA? Because since Friday night, I see that all of them are down. Like, did we do some rollout of something? Did we change something?" And I was like, okay, this is weird. I'm going back to Argo. I hit like refresh for all of the applications there, and I see all of them become red. And I was like, oh crap. So fast forward, basically what happened there is that on Friday, the security team ran automation that heavily used Cloud Code and Renovate. Renovate is the tool we use for the patches for the software we have, like Helm charts, NPM packages, all this stuff. It's like an alternative to Dependabot on GitHub. So this Renovate and Cloud Code combo, they run it to patch things. We have like a lot of backend projects, as you know already. We have a lot of stuff there, and it has to be maintained. And this is a great initiative actually to speed this up and automate this, because people cannot do this literally. It's impossible. It's too much. So anyway, what happened is that this automation updated the external secret operator Helm chart from 0. We had it 0.3 or something to the latest stable, which won 1 point something. So it was a major, huge update that changed the customer resource definitions and some other stuff. And basically, when that happened, everything went down, because like for services that depend on this Helm chart in particular, but a lot of our backend services consume some secrets from Amazon Secret Manager or so on. And a funny thing here is, one of the funniest thing is that it happened on QA, and from automation point of view. So what we have in QA is that Terraform plan jobs, Terraform apply jobs, and for this cluster-wide stuff, we use Terraform to apply Helm charts because of this chicken-egg problem. So something has to, bootstrap or maintain the foundational layer, so then Argo can, do the rest. So this external operator is one of these foundational parts. Anyway, automation ran the plan job. It was green because it was just update of the Helm chart. It ran apply job. Apply was successful as well, and that's it. For some reason, security team closed this pull request. So they created pull request with this change. They ran this on QA basically, and then the automation closed it. I don't remember exactly now why did they close it, but still it was closed, and like that's it. Period. Nobody told anyone anything. Even they didn't know about that. Like they were like, oh really? That happened? Oh crap. So yeah, and
but so just for this part, so does the AI fix the issues like directly, or does it do the pull request and someone has to review it and maybe merge it, then it triggers the automation?
So it should have, and you see, here's what happened again. So like it did the change, it created the branch, it created pull request. The pull request itself, the CI in this pull request, planned and applied Terraform on QA only. From automation point of view, that has no context about specifics of this particular repository with the infrastructure and so on, it was fine, because you see, you just run some stuff on QA, it was fine, then you decided to close pull request. So what's about it, right? It's not a big deal. You just did, it's QA, right? It's okay to experiment on QA. So this is literally what happened. The thing here is that was a QA cluster, so all the development depends on this. So like the QA cluster, we deployed the QA versions of all our backend applications. So it's different QA. So from platform point of view, it's like production version of QA, if so to speak.
Okay.
So that's the nuance here. Do you want me to continue?
Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
So and you see, in this situation, when we had the discussion with the team and everything, that's the like clear example of where this disconnection between the team is sort of destructive, right? So we have this production QA. We treat it as production because it's for the whole company. and we know it's super critical, and I don't know. And then some automation, not specifically security. It was like, by anecdote, it was security, but it could be anything else. And it did this change, it ran this pipeline, it decided to close. It could be a person who did this, it could be a machine, whatsoever. So there is a clear disconnection here. And when we talked about this with our team, the first reaction, and I have to say my first initial reaction, of course, was naturally, okay, we need to guard, we need to close contributors, we need to protect ourselves. Oh, it's impossible, like it shouldn't happen anymore. But on a second thought, though, it's not the best way to move from this situation, actually, because the farther we go, first of all, like AI adoption at our company is huge. Like we use a lot of tooling and everything. We propagate AI a lot in our company, and we know that at least for us, like the farther we go, the more and more contributions will be made by AI agents, AI assistant coding, whatsoever. So, and it's great because it's a huge leverage. It's a force multiplier by all means. It makes you, as an engineer, move faster, produce more of what? Sometimes good, sometimes not very good pull requests, but it's a different topic actually, because Anyway, and we decided that instead of just isolating ourselves, instead of, just saying, hey, no, stop, nobody is allowed to contribute to our repositories, especially AI, we decided to pivot and say, hey, we actually need to change something in our repositories to make it more AI friendly, to make it more friendly for anyone else to contribute. So even like, let's say, any engineer in the company could actually introduce the change on platform level, some foundational change with the help of AI agents, for example, and make this change for good. So we decided to add a lot of instructions there, like CloudMD files, because the main tool we have is Cloud, but maybe we will convert it to some agent MD or whatsoever. It doesn't matter for now. And also automated reviews of pull requests with the guardrails, like with the challengers reviewer. So basically, we need to build more of AI here, actually, to make further AI contributions safer and make it more welcomed for any engineer in the company.
Interesting, because you are preparing, for the agent to autonomously contribute at some level on the code or the infrastructure, and you want to make it safer, right?
Absolutely. And to clarify, what happened actually, you see, because it's already happened, so agent already contributed, so we were not ready. Basically, we are trying to catch up. But for the long perspective, yes, that you are correct. We want to make our repositories more friendly for agents because of two things. Again, it can be either autonomous agent, like this combination of Renovative or Cloud Code or whatsoever, or it can be a human, an engineer who use Cloud Code, Cursor, or whatsoever, and wants to contribute. One way or another, there's going to be an agent in this. And we want to make our repositories friendly for agents and for people as a result as well.
And so I'm interested in particularly with agents, because with a human, you can talk to them. So you can ping the person in the next team. You can, so you have a way to communicate with these people. But for the agents, like, what are the guardrails that specifically relate to this case of the issue that you have that is both technical and communication with the other team? So for just pure agents, when you don't have this part, communication, how you are thinking about it in terms of guardrails?
Yeah, of course. So it actually starts similar, I guess, for agents or people because of the clear documentation, clear instructions, clear protocols of the way of working with the code. I guess what differs here is the way we provide it to the consumer, whether it's a person or a machine, right? So for person, we say there is a README, please go and read README, and you will understand. Realistically, nobody reads README. Well, I mean, people read README files, but sometimes people skip them anyway. So I hope actually that machines here, especially like AI agents, will be a better better like a better user of the documentation actually, because if you put the instructions in the root folder in Claude MD, for example, you instruct the agent to actually do something, right? To, hey, this is the overview, and then there is a structure, then you can find additional references in this or this document, then there are skills, then there is a project level agents like Claude sub agents. And excuse me, I will be using like terminology from Claude Code because it's my main tool for code, for agent assistance. But I guess there are similar stuff in Codex and Gemini and other stuff. Or Cursor. So, but again, the point is that first thing is to provide the proper context and instructions and tooling. Like again, like context is clear, like CloudMD, some references, but then tooling, of course, internal project level skills or project level subagents for this or that. Another part is integrate the reviewer, like agent as a reviewer, into CI. So this is what we're actively doing now, because well, it helps, again, both agents and humans. When you introduce the change, whether by yourself or an agent, whether you're from security or from any other team, you do this and somebody needs to review it, right? So it can be a human. You can ping someone. We have actually automated system for finding the reviewer for your change, but still, that person will need to spend their time to do this, which is good, okay, expected. But what if it can be done by machine, right? At least the first review. Person will come anyway, but why not to make the machine do some first review with certain level of accuracy? Because we can say, okay, for this kind of change or that kind of change, we can use the machine. For example, machine can easily say, hey, you are upgrading from 0.2 to 1.1, for example. Here is the changes from change logs from all these differences. It's unsafe. Don't do this. So it's easy to do.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So things like this. Of course, we have merge requests, pull request configuration, so it can be merged by the person. But actually, inside our company, we are now practicing this thing so that even AI agent can approve. So we do this on low critical services at the moment, but who knows? I know Spotify does the same. I know other companies do the same, because again, it helps you move faster. But back to the original topic of original conversation here is that documentation, tooling, like additional review, and of course we need to change the way how CI works for us, because for this particular project, because you see, like even if we have all this in place, still the Terraform plan in Terraform apply could still run and can still break something. So we actually need to redesign CI a bit, but that's just a minor thing for us here.
Yeah.
It's a minor like a card around this. The majority of changes go towards the AI assistant coding and contributions, of course.
And who own the responsibility if there is if something goes wrong? Is it like your team or like the platform team first, or it's the developers because they own, build it, run it, own it mindset?
Well, I guess I mean, sorry to say that it depends, but I'll try to explain why it depends, and depends on what. Like for this particular use case, we took the responsibility. Okay, responsible in what context? Like we took the ownership of making this go better next time. I would say this. We did not blame security team for this to happen. I mean, again, the first reaction was, of course, like, oh, they did it to us. Oh, let's close everything. But again, like if you think more about this, you understand that this is opportunity to improve. Yeah, it's not the best way to get this opportunity, maybe, because I personally spent about 7 hours to fix all this stuff. But I mean, I had this time to think about this more and more, and maybe this is why I was advocating to actually turn this into opportunity to improve instead of closing everything and just protect ourselves from contributions. No. So if it's you see, that's the thing. So again, it depends on the situation in that context. That part my answer would be.
Okay, yeah, I see. And I'm really, I don't know if I'm surprised, but it's a positive point that the security team actually had a second thought about it, and instead of closing everything, said, okay, let's take it as an opportunity to learn and see how we can improve the whole process for the different teams. Because usually the security is like, no, don't go, do this, don't do this?
Yeah, so a good point, actually. So you see, again, like when we started to talk about this with security, they of course realized what happened, because initially they didn't even know about that, because it was just automation that created this pull request, ran the CI, and closed the pull request, period. That's it. They didn't know either. It was I actually who told them, like, hey guys, you see something went wrong and so on. But anyway, disregarding of who told whom, like after we talked, after we like made some sort of like post-mortem, we realized that yes, of course, then it's not just the platform team should improve their repositories. We actually have this whole initiative in our company, initiated by our principal security engineer, to integrate AI more and more into development. And the things like this automated reviews and automated even approves of the pull request and so on. So yeah, based, I guess, one of the theses here is that AI agentic, like agentic coding or AI assisted coding is unavoidable. I mean, it's here already. You must either embrace it and adapt, or I mean, you will be an outsider or just moving really slow. So yeah, that's the thing. So, but this is like about the disconnect that was destructive, but eventually that brought us to some productive and improvement stuff, which was pretty cool. There are, of course, some other examples when disconnect is invisible, but can also lead to some great or not very great things, or when disconnect is actually solved and there was no disconnect. So we can also talk about these cases if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like the perfect transition to talk about the second one, which is that when the disconnect is not destructive, but it's invisible, and how to deal with it. And I think it's again with the security team or security scanner that stayed there for 2 months, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So that was on a time when I was in security automation team, and that actually was my first task, so to say, because when I joined, I noticed that on weekends we have some mysterious scanners failures every weekend. Like Saturday and Sunday, our renovate cannot scanner, like update renovate bots, update scanner. I don't remember how we called it back then, but anyway, it was renovate. The point is that every weekend the rate of successfully applied patches across the configuration scans across the projects was extremely low, and we had a lot of errors in the dashboards, and like nobody knew what was going on. So, and you see this, talking about disconnections, like from security team point of view, they had this problem for several weeks, and they were trying to optimize renovate work. They were trying to figure out what's wrong with because with renovate, it's just a tool. We had a lot of customizations around it. They were trying to do this. They were discussing this on monthly business reviews. Like, so, a lot of hustle around this thing. They did not talk to platform teams, though, for some reason. And so when I joined this team and we talked about this, I just realized that, hey, we could actually check inside the cluster, because it all runs in our CI. Our CI also runs on Kubernetes. So let's take a look inside and see like what's going on there on the weekends. And it was trivial, because on weekends we have this auto scaling that shrinks down the number of nodes on our clusters, because on weekends we generally don't do any development, and CI is a part of our development stack. So we don't do this shrinking for the production nodes. I mean, just for the development environments and so on. And we use Carpenter for dynamic scaling out of the nodes, but we also use Amazon auto scaling groups for static warm pools. And the way how renovate works in our case is that when it starts, it's scanning of the whole repositories. It has to actually see, it has basically to compare, okay, you have this log file with your npm packages, right? These are the versions, and it has to compare it with the actual versions available for all the projects. And back then we had about 700, maybe 800 active projects, a lot. And it just burst these scans. It basically starts it immediately for all of them. And of course, because we have a lower number of warm-up nodes to host these pods of Renovate on Kubernetes cluster, Carpenter was not able to spin up the new nodes for that amount of workers, of Renovate workers at the same time. We could actually think like maybe we could improve Carpenter, but anyway, what I did, I just tuned this auto scaling and assigned a specific warm pool for Renovate bot to work on weekends without problems. So it was trivial in its essence fix, but it took like a weeks. Eventually, if you take a look from the team point of view, from security automation team, it took them, and me myself, us, like a weeks in total, several weeks to come to this solution, because a lot of time was just wasted for different things and wrong things because team didn't talk to platform at first place. Again, this is like an invisible disconnect that also sometimes causes maybe not the huge problems, but still a problem for the team, for its metrics, for its reports, and so on.
Yeah, that's that's an interesting situation, by the way. Like for you, why there is a disconnect in this particular use case? Like the security team were struggling because of their tools or tooling failure, which is, I mean, understandable because they wanted to fix their own issues. But like, what was the root cause? Why they didn't reach out to the platform team from the beginning saying, hey, we are troubleshooting our tool, but it relies on your platform. Maybe there is something that we are not seeing there.
Yeah, so I think it's like a composite here, because a lot of factors adds up to such a situation. I know when I was like talking to guys about this, I know that they were reaching out to on-call engineer about this. On-call engineer did some checks for them, but the original request was not like too maybe illuminating or enlightening for the on-call engineer to actually get into this like details and to the deeps of the auto scaling and so on. For some other reason, maybe because it was not an urgent priority or something. So many factors here that just buries some long-running issues and keeps them running and keeps them being an issue for a long time for the teams. And maybe it's another factor here is the people nature. Like when we deal with some like not very problematic, not very critical thing, we kind of get used to it. I don't know, and just okay, this doesn't work on weekends. Well, yeah, but we have more high priority projects to solve to work on. So okay, we will solve this later, and that's just how tech debt accumulates, I guess. So that's the number of factors here. Surprisingly, the solution to many such situations is actually do this extra mile, like spend a bit more time, be more persistent, be more sometimes even pushy. I mean, of course, like in a nice, polite way, but still like to basically break through this, sort of imaginary wall sometimes between the teams and say, hey, let's dig into this, let's solve this finally. And yeah, I mean, it's like extra 20 minutes or half an hour sometimes help you, solve problems that last for weeks.
Yeah, that's. I asked the question because I had another question in my mind, which is like humans versus agents. Like now we are dealing with humans, and all this work and all the optimization we do is optimized for the human and for the human beings and developers, engineers when they work in the infrastructure. And I wonder what could be the picture, when you have agents autonomously doing actions, building infrastructures, or security agents trying to run and or audit the infrastructure, the code, and they are stuck. So what is interesting for me as well is the ownership, because sometimes it's not clear who owns what. And I think this gray area may be like the source of all troubles. So from your own experience and experience, and also the issues that you faced, like, do you see any gap between humans as they are working today and the agents if we start to introduce them more and more doing like the work that humans are doing today?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I guess I understand what you're talking about, and please correct me if I'm going like sideways. So one of the maybe example of how this shows itself is this we used to call it like AI slop, right? So AI agents produce a lot of sloppy content, code, whatsoever. And the more we integrate it, the more we use it, the more of this AI slop we produce. That's the reality, but I guess a big piece of the misunderstanding here comes from that this is just a tool. I mean, misunderstanding comes from the fact that people forget about it. Even the most sophisticated AI agent, whether it's Codex, Gemini, or Claude, or Cursor, or whatsoever, it's still a tool that must be used in particular very wide set of situations, of course, but still it's not like one tool that can solve all the problems. At least configuration of this tool that can be applied everywhere with the same efficiency. Like, yeah, we can solve a lot of stuff with any of the tool I mentioned, but we need to tune it and adjust it in the set of like instructions, skills, or whatsoever for particular use case. And maybe this emerging like problem and perception for many engineers even today, like, hey, this AI coding is not so good, or like overhyped and so on. I feel it, but at the same time I see how many times it comes from just sort of not maybe total misunderstanding, but still kind of misunderstanding that it's just a tool, still a tool that has to be implemented and used properly for particular use case and scenario. And when this is like realized, and when we understand that, then this tool becomes a big power actually, which can still cause some issues time to time. But again, it's a matter of again the perception here, because like every issue actually gives us the opportunity to learn from, right? So if we failed with this update, then we will not fail next time, because we already know that this can go wrong and we need to start to do something to make it better. So let me know if I answered your question, or maybe I went sideways.
Partially, partially yes, but I think the part of the other part of the question of the answer as well will come with the third use case, what that you call it, where the disconnect is solved. I think that's it's it may help us understand as well, like the big picture, where when the solution is put correctly, it may create a positive impact. So would you like to shed some light on this one?
Yeah, thank you. To clarify this example, when we worked on this in 2024, this was a big project. Back then, we just started this AI adoption, so we did not heavily use the AI tooling for it, but still. The point of this example is actually not about AI or maybe even tools. It's about this success story of the like good connection between the teams. And this is what we try to reuse every time when we collaborate with security team now. So that was the supply chain gates project, or supply chain security as we called it. Effectively, we had to implement security gates on our CI/CD process. That was the project defined as a top risk by our CISO, and we deploy a lot of backend services. As you know, we operate a lot of backend services. They are deployed from Docker images. They run on Kubernetes clusters. So we had to implement security scanners for those images in the CI. We had to implement scan on the runtime, and we had to implement a scanner on the deployment phase. I mean, this is what we designed eventually, of course. And there are several things I want to highlight here of how this collaboration between platform and security went very well. So first of all, clusters and this infrastructure is owned by platform in our company, right? And security, and I was back in security back then, we had to deal with it. We had to work with this. So we co-designed with the platform team a lot. So we basically had several design sessions, calls, and everything to understand how to apply this or that effectively. Plus, we also introduced the concept of clean room. So when the Docker image is scanned, it goes to standalone Docker registry, like clean room for scanned images, and cluster is allowed to consume images only from that clean room registry, basically, not from any other registry we have. And we also co-designed a lot with the developers, because again, initially our model, way of thinking of this, when we just started talking about this inside the security team, we were like, okay, we need to put all the gates we can put. Okay, let's scan the code, let's scan the images like after they've been built, let's scan the containers. I don't know, let's scan everything. Let's just block everything. Because you see, the mental model, I guess, again, it evolves, it changes, but ultimately, quite often, the mental model of the teams are different. Like in platform teams, I guess we're more thinking about the efficient usage of resources, the CI speed, the infrastructure operability, and how it works, how it scales, the uptime, all that stuff. From security team's point of view, as far as I can judge from my experience working there, it's more about like risk preventions, their mitigations. So making all the efforts to avoid the incident, like to avoid a risk become a liability and things like this. So naturally, our first design was, okay, let's put 5 gates everywhere and just like lock everything down. So we then showed this design to developers. We also invited a couple of developers from 2 different teams to help us validate this. And of course, their reaction was, "Are you guys crazy or what? Like, do you want me to wait for like extra, I don't know, 15 minutes for this to be scanned and then that to be scanned? It's impossible. Like, don't do this." So, and with these iterations, again, it kind of sounds simple, but surprisingly, I noticed like how teams sometimes forget that they coexist with other teams, and it's not such hard actually to pull somebody from other team for half an hour to pitch the idea, to show the concept, and ask a few questions. Just it shouldn't be necessarily like deep dive like for 2 hours. Maybe sometimes it should, of course, but even like some small conversations, some small meeting can help a lot. And yeah, so again, there's like different points of view, as I was mentioned at the start of our conversation, like this orthogonal, view on the same problem. So hey, we have deployments, we have infrastructure, but we think about this differently. And we ended up with these 3 gates. So like the Docker images are scanned after they're been built. They are scanned in the runtime after, and in between, there is admission controller in our cluster that checks that the image that comes inside was scanned successfully, and it comes from the clean room repository. We use Wiz cloud security platform and their scanners to make all this possible, but we also used a lot of custom orchestrations around that, because we have our custom deployment tool called Platform CLI that deploys images to the clusters. So we integrated Wiz scanner into that tool because, again, there was a challenge of that project. So like we have a lot of projects in GitLab, and back then, and frankly, even today, we lack of standardization of these projects. I mean, different code bases is not a big deal. The different CI configuration is a pain for a project like that. If you want to inject some scanner or whatsoever, actually, if you want to change or adjust the configuration of CI at scale, and every project has literally different CI configurations, that becomes a pain, really pain. And naturally, I mean, like things like GitLab or GitHub, I guess, has something similar. GitLab has these compliance pipelines. So they say, okay, you can inject code into any pipeline. This is great, but we still don't know how stages or jobs are named or so on. So this is why we decided to integrate with the Platform CLI tool and work with platform team for this integration. So if we integrate our scanner to the tool that deploys the image, this is how we can ensure that image is scanned before the deployment. it adds some extra time for deployment time, yes, but then we tune that, and for example, we scan multi-architecture images in parallel, so not to make it sequentially, so make it faster and so on. But this is just specifics anyway. So yeah, so this collaboration and iteration over and over on any this new and other features that what made it really good. And for developers at the same time, we understood, okay, we're around this design with developers, we involved to design phases. Okay, they gave their feedback, we iterated again and again and again. So eventually we understood that we could kind of get best from both worlds. I mean, we need to implement the security gates and scanners for all the projects. So we will not ask teams to please allow us to add this to your pipeline. We will do this just like that, but we will allow them to opt out if they want. So in that case, we are kind of pushy, but we are polite and we give a freedom of choice for the team. If they say, hey, your scanner is blocking us and we need to opt out from it like today, we will implement it maybe later when we can update our dependencies and something like this. We also allow them to have a whitelist for specific CVEs. For example, when you have something like developer tooling in your Docker image or in your code base that is not the part of what you ship to production, but scanner doesn't know about that anyway. If you use the same platform CLI to deploy to QA or production, scanner will run the scan, but you deploy different images on different environments. So we don't want to block you when you deploy to QA, for example. We don't want you to be triggered by vulnerability in some developer tooling, for instance, because it's not exploitable because it runs on isolated QA environment or something like this. So again, another specifics we introduced it to give developers more freedom of actions and responsibility, because you also mentioned about this ownership and stuff. This is effectively how they own this decision. Like if they say, hey, I want to opt out from this scanner or from this particular vulnerability, I will do so, and they can do it freely. If it goes to production eventually, we have special policies and SLAs to treat this incidents or occasions like this. But this is another story. At the start, they have this freedom and opt-in by default and freedom to opt out if they want. So
yeah. And in terms of process of communication, do you have anything like specific? Let's say for these specific topics, we need to have at least like one guy from the security, one guy from platform, and one developer. Or for when there is like a specific kind of issues, these three teams are notified at the same time. Or like, do you have any kind of setup like this?
You mean setup for incidents or setup for design phases?
Setup for the communication when there is an information to be either broadcasted or design decisions to be taken. How you are informing the right people, because to not reproduce the same mechanism or the same situation where you have security teams stuck into their issues and they forgot that, the platform team can actually help,
Okay, I guess I see what you mean. So it goes from like the concrete, exact communication flow differs from case to case. So if you start something new, like if you build a new feature, if you build a new service or whatsoever, there is a process when you know as an engineer, and this is like one of the base sort of policies we have, when you have to involve somebody from production security to help you with the review of this new feature you built or the new product offering you build and you want to ship it. And this can take time, of course, so it's not a blocker for you to keep iterating and working on this on QA while the review is ongoing. It has to be completed before you go to production with it. Another case is that if something originates from the platform or security team, we have this cross-team communication channels in Slack where we discuss a lot of stuff together, because a lot of platform or security initiatives generally intersect. And we learned it sometimes hard way, sometimes not, that this communication must be there, that these communication channels must be established. And this is why we like talk a lot about stuff. Sometimes, as you know, with this like QA cluster, sometimes we don't. But again, platform security team didn't know about this either. So, but the point is that the communication channels are different. Like if it's an org-wide change, we then of course use town halls, we use org-wide Slack channels to broadcast these changes or announcements and so on. So there's something like this.
Yeah. Perfect. And so the platform team, it owns the infrastructure and the operation of the infrastructure, right? Or do you have like a separate team for DevOps and cloud engineering topics, or it's all within the same umbrella of the platform team?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Technically, we have like 3 teams under platform umbrella, so to speak. So it's production engineering. This is where I am currently. There is developer experience team, and there is release engineering. So it starts from developer. So from developer point of view, from an engineer point of view, it starts like from developer experience team, because developer experience team owns the tooling other engineers touch day to day.
Okay.
I mean, some automations for day-to-day work, some automations used in testing, and so on. Then there is release engineering team that helps, basically is responsible and owns the phase from your, let's say, like pull request to production, so to speak, right? You commit this to repository, you want to run this, like you want to run the CI, you want to run the CD, and so on. So this layer is owned by the release engineering team. And then there is production engineering team, infrastructure team, in other words, and that we own this foundational infra, networking, clusters, all that stuff. And security engineers, in this case, we communicate, and not just our team, all 3 team maintains the contact with security teams, because we also have not 1 security team, but now 3. Anyway, so with security organization, so for all these initiatives on every level, because this communication needs to happen like on each level. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. Thank you very much. I mean, for all the insights and for the information, and also the how we say, the advices that you give, because it's not just technical, and obviously it's not just technical. It's the technical part is just part of it, but the most important one is the communication and how the teams are supposed to work with each other. So we are close to 1 hour. What could be like an advice that you can give to someone who is either starting to work today or is trying to navigate the complexity of working with different teams, and every team has its own ownership and its own way of doing things?
Yeah, good question. So I say that every team has a lot of their plate. And if you want to improve the collaboration between the teams, I guess so there are probably many good ways to do this, but one of the good ways, and I tested it on myself, would be to reach out to the team and ask them about what is outstanding or long-standing tech debt they have and they need help with. Maybe some problems they have that they cannot solve for a long time. It would be best if this is something that intersects with your domain, like this platforms plus security intersection. It could be security plus development intersection, because I mean, security engineers quite often they still need help with hands-on development of tooling or hands-on configuration with platform things or whatsoever. It can be anything, a lot of stuff. And vice versa. I mean, platform team has a lot of needs, a lot of help with infrastructure configuration every day. So yeah, my point is that reaching out to the team and asking them about this long-standing issue and trying to invest several hours of your life and your work life into this could be a great example of building this bridge between the teams, because if you can help somebody to solve their pain, that gives you like a huge boost to the reputation and makes you a good friend literally. So yeah, so that would be one of my advices.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. And I really understand it, because I was in this, in the shoes of this guy, navigating the complexity. And I understand when you help the others solve their own problems, how it opens doors that you cannot open otherwise. Serhii, thank you very much for taking the time today and sharing your insights, the way you work, what are the best practices, and how we can make our life better, actually as an individual, but also as a team within a company. Thank you again. Enjoy the rest of the day. And thanks for everyone joining us today. And stay tuned for the next session of the Engineered Podcast. Thank you, everyone.
For having me.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Goodbye.